is that it has an LED light in it, just like the ZR13, which what's fantastic about this is that now I can just go ahead and plug this thing in, and specifically on a European car like this Jaguar, the OBD2 port is actually underneath the dash here, and this little light helps me figure out which way to put it on correctly. So if you're going to do this, just go ahead and put the key in the on position before you actually hook up the Zurich, because it will just start auto running. Even if the Zurich is completely off and you plug it in, it'll start running. So it just takes a few minutes to go through all the systems and link up. And as you can see, it tells that this is a Jaguar, and it gives me these 3 codes, which we have because I know that this car has a leak in the EGR system. So that's why we have these lean codes here. When the car gets to operating temp and the EGR cycles through, it goes through it. So now if I want to read any codes, I can just go to the menu, and I can also just click the scan button here on the left hand side. And if I want to go to all module scan, I literally just click it and confirm that this is my car. It is a 04 XJ series. This is an XJR. If you want to see this car in some of our other videos, you can certainly go through. So this scan tool is really quick and compact and small. I'm holding it in my left hand here, super easy to hold. I've got probably average size hands for a human. And as this thing rocks through, you can see it's going through all the modules, driver's seat modules, electronic parking brake module. So another thing that's pretty great about this is how long the cord is. It's probably like a 6-foot long cord. It's all the way in the interior of the car, and I'm standing all the way out here. So looking at this thing here, it shows us that we have 7 codes: the engine control module and the anti-lock brake system. So I'm just going to go ahead and click onto it, and it's got a couple of generic codes. Another couple cool things is that this thing has the feature of oil reset. It tells you how to reset the oil change light on this vehicle, which is pretty cool. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to turn the unit off and show you how it starts from the get-go. This is a 9973 Power Stroke diesel. Turn the key to the on position. I'm going to find my OBD2 connector again on the inside, and as you can see, I didn't power it on. It just automatically booted up on its own. Another cool function this thing has is a DLC locator. So if you don't know where the OBD2 port is, you can just say, you know, what your vehicle is. This is a 99, next page Ford, next page F350, and boom, the DLC is located in the driver's side under lower right part of dash. Gives you a nice little picture with a blinking dot, and that is in fact where we have to connect to. It also does this with a bunch of other vehicles as well. Now it's going through and scanning all the modules that this truck has. Alrighty, so showing us airbag warning indicator, circuit high resistant. We do actually have an airbag light on, so that is cool that we know that. We can just screenshot this and diagnose that later. Transfer case, contact plate, power short to ground, and transfer case, contact plate failure. So this will help us actually diagnose what's going on with our 4-wheel drive circuit, which we do currently have an issue with. Alrighty, so here are our modules that we can scan. And what I'll go ahead and do now is I'm just going to erase all the DTCs and see what comes back. Now it'll immediately go back through, scan everything, and make sure that that's all going well. So we have just one code, which is going to tell me something: transfer case, clockwise shift relay coil circuit failure. Cool. So that's a hard code. We'll go ahead and diagnose that later. This is the difference between the ZR13 and ZR15, is that this scan tool has bi-directional functions for easier diagnostic work. So this is a 09 HHR with a 2.2. This is one of our service vehicles. We should be able to go through here and mess with different stuff. So oil life reset, you can input a new value there. So we can go through our video here. It shows oil life 51%, and then it also says oil life 51% on the dash. Here now I'm going to input new value. Tell me when you can see it. And we're going to just do perform a reset. And now it says 0%, and see here now we show where it says change engine oil soon. Right, so now it says 0. So now I'll click input new value. This is a little different. You got to go to the 1, click enter, then go back, click 0, and then go back to the 0, click 0 again, perform reset, and now it says 100%, and up here it says oil life 100%. So it's a little different how you go through. You got to like click back. It's almost like using T9 for text messaging, but it still has that function, which is pretty great. It's got idle learn reset, engine speed, throttle, and crank position sensor variation relearn. So we don't have a new crank position sensor to install, so we don't need to do that, but it will go through. If we go through here and we do a battery alternator monitor, let's click the monitor. It says engine needs to be running, normal temperature to begin. So we can start the engine. And it says alternator is 14 volts. Increase the engine speed to 2000 RPM and hold it there until the countdown reaches 0. Alrighty, so now it's counting down. Turn the headlights to the off position and return the engine to idle. Alright, so foot off throttle. Charging voltage is above the acceptable limit. Inspect your charging system for faulty components. Have it inspected at a certified repair facility. So our alternator is a little bit higher output on this vehicle because we run 4 batteries, an air compressor, and a power inverter. So our batteries must be low because I just discharged it. So that's why we're running a little bit higher. You really want to see this around 14. We also were a little higher on the RPMs, which can throw this off. So we should go through this. So you have your erase button, your up and down button, your select button. This is your power on off button, also another selector button. This is your menu, your system scan. This is your DTC. So if you wanna like figure out what this means, the definition, you can click that. And then you have a green button for live data. As you can see here, it's both of our fuel system statuses are in closed loop, short and long. Calculated load value, we are at idle. I have my foot on the brake. If I give it a little bit of fuel, you'll see that the load value will go up accordingly. As you can see, it's at 30%. Engine coolant temp, 205. That's all good, fine, and dandy. So what's really cool about this whole thing here is that let's say that we wanted to graph everything, right? So we wanted to graph whatever it is that we cared for. We could go ahead and just click graph, and now it'll graph the throttle position sensor. So right now I have no throttle position sensor, and I'm going to squeeze on the power and go all the way till my foot hits the floor, and you will see that it will graph that. Now we're full wide open, and now we're off. Really cool. Another thing to talk about here is that this has a vehicle selection. So it keeps the last 3 vehicles that you mess with. So if you pulled this thing off and you go, oh man, I gotta check real quick, you can go right back to it and then go to vehicle selection. So now this is a newer vehicle. This is a 2019 Ford Expedition, and it's an EcoBoost. It is an automatic. This is our car. Let's say that we wanted to test the idle air control valve. We could increase the engine's RPM. And as you can see here, we set it to 800 RPM, but now let's increase it all the way up to 1500 RPM. What we were doing is we were using the scan tool here to increase the RPM. So we're at 1400, now we're gonna go to 1500. So we have this at 1500, and that's now at 1500. And you would do this if you're just trying to confirm that your idle air control valve is actually working. All right, so now all injectors disabled. This parameter will disable all injectors. See powertrain control emissions diagnostic manual for detailed instruction. Click continue, the engine's running, and we'll see if we can shut off all the injectors and disable. Let's see if we shut the car off. And we shut the car off by killing the injectors. So this would be really good here if you want to crank the engine over, do a compression test, and you don't want the injectors to fire up. Something like that is what you would use this. So we can go ahead and click exit now.